I'm sure there have been countless films and people that have affected all of us while watching movies. For me, The Prestige is one of those films. Because it managed to surpass a standard I thought was unbeatable when it comes to plot twists. You see, when we watch plot twist films, we often say, nothing better can come after this. For example, while watching The Usual Suspects, I thought there couldn't be a better plot twist film. But then, years later, Fight Club came out and my opinion changed. Then Old Boy was released years later, and I was so surprised after watching it that I thought no film could ever surprise me more. But just a year or two after that, I had the chance to watch The Prestige in theaters, and to be honest, the film's plot twists impressed me even more. At that time, I didn't fully grasp the quality of the movie because compared to now, my knowledge of cinema was almost zero. I just said, wow, what a film, and moved on. But over time, I watched it again and again, and now I'm sure that The Prestige was far ahead of its time. I still watch it every few years, and each time, I catch a new detail. For instance, I'm certain that when I rewatch it as I get older, the impact the film will have on me will be very different from what I felt last week. And most likely, even when I'm older, I'll be able to confidently say that this film is a masterpiece in terms of filmmaking. For example, the irony within the film is a rare phenomenon. The magicians or illusionists in the film, whatever you want to call them, often say that a magic show consists of 3 parts. The first part is the pledge, the second part is the turn, and the third part is the prestige. The film itself is designed to perfectly follow this 3-stage structure. I'll go into the details of this later, but first, let's take a look at the other legendary aspects of the film. Before we dive into the film, let's briefly talk about Joseph Campbell's book The Hero with 1,000 Faces. This book revolutionized the film industry 70 years ago. It laid the groundwork for the invention of the 12-step screenplay structure. Almost every blockbuster director you can think of uses this 12-step formula, except for a few special directors like Nolan. Nolan is so skilled with film mechanics that he can bend and twist the 12-step rules as he pleases. He can create a new formula if he wants or reinterpret the existing one in a way that suits his style. Since most people don't have this talent, I think it's something worth admiring. Nolan's expertise isn't limited to just time manipulation. He has an incredible ability to narrate 3 different timelines simultaneously. Think about it. We see the film's ending at the beginning, and then the story progresses through flashbacks. So far, so good. This isn't something new. It's been done in hundreds of films. But here's the remarkable detail. After the flashback, Nolan uses 2 different timelines to tell the story, using 2 different diaries. We witness how, from the perspective of 2 characters, the events lead to one trying to kill the other. We see the motivations of both characters, as well as their character development, even their transformation. At the beginning of the film, we see Alfred Borden as a bad character responsible for the death of Robert Angier's wife, and we view Robert Angier as someone wronged. But as the film progresses, we witness Robert Angier transforming into someone who kills his own clones and the father of an innocent girl. In fact, we can't say there's a clear black and white distinction between the 2 sides. Depending on your perspective, both sides could be right or wrong. But no matter which side you find justified, chances are you changed your mind at least once while watching the movie. How many films can make you do that? If you know any other films like The Prestige, please share them in the comments. The funny part is that since the movie is about deception, I was expecting a plot twist at the end. I was prepared for it. However, despite anticipating it, I was still utterly shocked when the movie ended. I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if I had predicted what would happen. This brings me to one of my favorite dialogues from the movie. Right now you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it. Because you're not really looking. You want to be fooled. It's as if this line was spoken directly to me and people who think like me. Seriously, sometimes being fooled can be fun. Of course, this isn't the only great line in the movie. There are plenty of lines you can discuss and enjoy with friends. The film's success isn't solely due to Christopher Nolan. Jonathan Nolan also deserves a lot of credit. In fact, calling Jonathan Nolan one of the best screenwriters wouldn't be an exaggeration. Just think about it. The guy wrote Westworld, Person of Interest, and The Prestige. Remember when Robert Angier says at the end of the movie, The real courage is not in drowning, but in entering the machine every night. This is an extension of the thought experiment known as the ship of Theseus. Imagine two ships, Ship 1 and Ship 2, made of 100 parts each. Every day, you remove identical parts from both ships and swap them. At the end of the day, is Ship 1 still Ship 1, or should we now call it Ship 2? I don't want to bore you with the details of this, but I want to steer the conversation back to Nolan. Nolan is one of the rare directors who can both get hundreds of millions of people to watch his films and maintain a high level of quality in them. I respect directors like him, but I don't have much respect for directors who make weird, nonsensical films. Back to The Prestige. The movie not only became legendary, but also marked the beginning of a legendary partnership. Christopher Nolan and Hans Zimmer. They worked together for the first time on this film, and they've continued to collaborate ever since, except for Nolan's film Tenet. If nothing goes wrong, they'll keep working together. There's also Dunkirk, because Hans Zimmer was too busy with other projects to compose for that movie. But as I said, as long as there are no issues in the future, we'll continue to see this duo. I haven't seen them produce a bad score yet. From The Prestige to Inception, The Dark Knight to Interstellar, and from Interstellar to Oppenheimer, they've created masterpieces every time. I hope they continue to do so. This film makes excellent use of the technique known as foreshadowing. When you watch the film a second time, there are dozens of foreshadowing examples that you didn't notice the first time but become very clear on the second viewing. While I can't cover them all, I'll mention a couple. For example, at the beginning of the film, during the bird trick, when the child says, "Where's the bird's brother?" our character becomes briefly troubled, even a bit sad. At first, we think he's upset because the child figured out the trick. But by the end of the film, we realize that the man wasn't much different from the bird. He, too, frequently switched places with his brother for their performances. Or, for instance, when Sarah says to Borden, "I love you," he replies, "Sometimes you mean it, sometimes you don't." At that moment, we don't fully understand the reason. But later, we realize that sometimes the person talking to her was the man she loved, and other times it was his twin. And although she couldn't quite put her finger on it, she sensed something was off. There are many more high-quality foreshadowing examples like this throughout the movie. Remember how I said the film was structured like a three-part magic trick? Let's get back to that. But first, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so. And if you are subscribed, make sure to recommend it to your friends. Now back to the video. What were the three stages of a magic trick? The pledge, the turn, and the prestige. As the name suggests, the magician promises something in the pledge. For example, to make a bird disappear. The second step, the turn, is when the bird disappears. But simply making something disappear isn't enough. You have to bring it back and complete the prestige. Otherwise, the audience won't be fully satisfied. Now, let's see how the film mirrors these three stages. In fact, let's skip the first two and jump straight to the third. Just as making the bird disappear isn't enough, you have to bring it back, and that's exactly what the movie does. It kills off both characters and then brings them back. While we're still in shock over their deaths, we're left wondering, how is he still alive? And this is Nolan's prestige moment, earning our respect. I think this video has sufficiently covered the film's achievements. There are still many points I'd like to discuss, but that's enough for this video. Take care, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.